Moira is the newest addition to the Overwatch roster of heroes, but she can be a difficult character to master and even just to play effectively. So to help you get started and potentially dominate the opposition, we've got a full breakdown with a plethora of handy tips and tricks peppered throughout. Before we deep dive into the skills and tactics, let's talk about when you should actually play Moira. She's not a great solo healer. To play her effectively, you will need to spend periods of time damaging the enemy, and during this time, you're going to need another healer on board to keep you and your allies alive. She couples wonderfully well with Mercy in particular, but can work fine with any other healer. She's effective at dealing with flankers, thanks to her attacks that track fast moving opponents very easily, her self-healing and mobility. Not only can she destroy characters like Genji with relative ease, but she can also protect the other support on her team thanks to her massive healing per second. She struggles to support allies at longer ranges in the same way that Zenyatta or Ana can, so she's best played with a team that mostly works as a close unit. Having an anchor tank like Reinhardt or Orisa can help to make this a reality. Alternatively, you could attempt to run Moira as part of a dive team, supporting a Genji and a Winston for example. However, this is a high risk, high reward tactic, and it will require good communication. So that's a rough idea of when to play her, but how to play her is just as important. So let's take a look at her skills, as well as some tips and tricks on how to use them. Biotic Grasp is her first and most important skill. Using her left hand, she can heal allies in front of her. The mist that she pushes out will pass through allies, meaning she can heal more than one at once, so long as they're lined up. The healing works in two ways. There is a direct heal when the skill is being channeled and hitting an ally. This is currently 80 health per second. Then there is a short, lingering heal that stays on the target for 4 seconds, recovering a small amount of health. This means it currently does more healing per second than Mercy's beam or Ana's dart, and it can hit multiple allies at once, potentially doubling or tripling the amount of overall healing. But there is a drawback. Unlike other supports, Moira has a resource attached to her healing, so she can't just channel it indefinitely. When her biotic energy hits 0, she's unable to continue healing and must replenish the energy. It will come back very slowly by itself, taking nearly a full minute to fully recharge. You can replenish the energy faster by using her alternate fire on the Biotic Grasp, which is a long-ranged beam attack with a slight lock-on. It feels more like Zarya's beam rather than Symmetra's. It will lock on, but you still need reasonable tracking skills to keep it locked on. It will also recover a small amount of your own health while it's connected. This fire mode is the only way to restore your biotic energy quickly. It currently takes around 400 damage to fully restore the pull. So unlike Mercy or Ana who can stay at a safe distance or behind cover, Moira must get involved in the fight, balancing fighting to restore her energy and healing allies who are in trouble. There are a few major drawbacks to this. The first is teamfights. If Moira finishes a teamfight without any biotic energy left, she will have very little recharged by the time the next fight starts. Good teams will be aware of this, and they will know that Moira will have to come out and recharge in the next encounter, meaning that they can plan for this and focus her down when she does. The second issue is that in general, Moira is more vulnerable than other supports. Most supports are able to hide behind walls during fights or at a safe distance. Moira needs to be in a position where she can keep her energy charged, meaning she has to spend more time out in the open where she's at greater risk. However, she does have some ways to defend herself. As I mentioned, her alternate fire will actually heal her quite effectively, meaning that she will generally require either a focused attack from a couple of heroes or a large burst of damage to bring her down quickly. Because of this, her biggest threats are snipers and other characters who can deal substantial bursts of damage. Ana's grenade is also a real problem as it will counter her self-healing. Thankfully, she also has Fade to help her stay alive. When activated, Moira will instantly vanish, become invulnerable, and get a massive speed boost. She will then reappear less than a second later. This skill is your panic button. When getting pressured hard or you need to escape a bad situation, Fade is your only option, so don't waste it. Generally, your rotation of play will involve healing from the backlines of the group, poking forward to deal some damage with Biotic Grasp, and then using Fade to fall back when you need to escape. Generally, try to play more passively when you don't have Fade available. You can also use Fade's speed boost to make jumps around the map. This can let you get into some different positions or shake off the enemy chasing you down. Try to be inventive with Fade. Don't just use it to move in a straight line. You can dive into a room or behind cover. The strength of this skill is how unpredictable the user can be. Her next ability is Biotic Orb, and just like Grasp, it has two modes of fire, one for healing and one for damage. The orbs will bounce off any surfaces, pass through shields, and travel indefinitely until they've either expended their full amount of damage or healing, or until the cooldown on the skill resets and you can fire out another orb. The damage orb is one of the best poking skills in the game. Fired at a cluster of enemies, it will almost always get its full amount of damage off, providing you with easy ultimate charge, with very little risk. A great opening move at the start of a match. It also provides her with some effective burst damage to defend herself with. Hitting an enemy with the orb and your Biotic Grasp at the same time will deal considerable damage. This is a really strong way for her to defend herself against flanking enemies trying to kill her, such as Genji. It can also be used to zone out a sniper from a doorway, toss it towards the room, and they will not only have to back out of the doorway, but often have to leave the entire area, as a single orb can kill 200 health heroes if it gets its full damage off. The healing orb works exactly the same, but heals teammates. It will also heal you, so if you need to recover health, bouncing the orb off a nearby wall will do it for you. Also note that both orbs will actually begin to slow down when they're healing or dealing damage, meaning that they won't just fly past your target without doing much. You can also see how much charge an orb has left by looking at its size. They shrink as they release their damage or healing. Lastly, we have her ultimate, Coalescence. This fires a massive beam that both heals allies and damages enemies at the same time. It currently deals 70 damage to enemies and 100 healing to allies per second. This is substantial but not massive. To really get value out of this ult, you need to be hitting as many targets as possible, allies and enemies. The more you're hitting, the more value your ult provides. You can use it in a lot of ways, protecting and ulting Soldier 76 or Pharah for example, or protecting allies caught in a Zarya's Graviton Surge. But the most common tactic is to fire through a close quarters teamfight to hit as many targets as possible. With the added healing, your teammates can fight more aggressively, and the enemy will be zoned back to avoid the beam. It will also pass through Reinhardt and Orissa's shields, so they have no defense there, and in fact, it can be an effective way to deal with shield compositions. For example, if a team is set up on a payload with a barrier and a bastion, you can fire Coalescence at them, while a Genji on your team jumps in with Dragonblade, or a Reinhardt goes in hammer swinging. You can keep your teammate alive while also tearing apart their setup. During the ultimate, you will also recover 50 health a second yourself and get a movement speed boost. It also counts as a channeled ultimate, so stuns and hacks will cancel it instantly. So what do you think of Overwatch's newest hero? Do you have any tips to share? Throw them in the comments below. As always, this is James for Cass saying thanks for watching, and enjoy the game.